Controller tap strafing is back. In this video, I'll show you a method for tap strafing and moving while looting on controller that is fun, user-friendly, and doesn't involve being a cheater. Stick around. What's going on, guys? RobPlays here. Respawn removed controller tap strafing in Season 19 because members of the community thought it was unfair. So what I set out to do was to create a way to tap strafe on controller that people would find fair and fun. And that's just what I want to talk about in this video. I'll go over how to set up these configs, customization, how to pull off advanced movement tech, and move while looting, why this method isn't cheating, and I'll finish with a brief discussion section. Before you get at me in the comments, check out the "Is this cheating?" section. I know I can't possibly please everybody, but I'll probably address your concerns in that section. So with these configs, you're essentially turning your controller into a mouse and keyboard. Now, a few things happen when you use all M and K inputs. First, you aren't going to have aim assist. You only get aim assist when the game senses controller input. Stay with me here, I'll talk about this more later. Next, you're no longer going to have analog movement. Controller movement is smoother than M and K movement because controller has analog inputs and keyboard has digital inputs. These digital inputs are required for the lurch mechanic, so this is a given. So when you set up these configs, general movement will feel choppy at first, but once you get used to it, the movement is just better. And last disclaimer, this is not going to give you some kind of unfair advantage compared to other players. This is not going to auto-execute any movement for you like the old meme strafe configs. You actually have to learn how to do the movements just like an M and K player would, and the process is super fun and rewarding. I'll share these as a community config so that you can copy them from the Steam community layouts. Look for controller as M and K final by RobPlaysTooMuch. There are a few prototypes in there, so make sure you click on the final one. In a moment, I'll show you how to set these configs up from scratch, but if you don't want to listen to my voice for however many minutes that's going to take, just copy the settings you see here on the screen. A few of these settings you'll see in these pictures involve changing hidden settings using the scroll wheel on the right, so if you see any settings highlighted in red, just know that some of those have extra changes that you need to figure out, or go back and watch my video to see what I say about them. Of note, all of these are using the default Apex keyboard binds. If you change your keyboard binds in Apex, take a picture of your current settings, then restore your keyboard settings to default. Okay guys, I'll explain how to set up these configs here. First, you're going to go to Apex Legends in Steam. Next, you're going to go over to this controller icon on the right side. If you don't have your controller turned on, just turn it on, you'll get this icon to pop up. Next, you're going to edit your layout. These configs are pretty complex. Later on, I'm going to have a different action set in the top left here, so if you cut this off halfway, things are probably not going to work very well. All right, we're going to start with A, switch this over to space key. Next, B is going over to C on the keyboard. X, we're going to change to E. Be referencing my phone this whole time because I'm not going to memorize this. And then Y, we're going to switch to L. And then we're going to add a second Y. Go to extra command. And this one is going to be 3 on the keyboard. Go into the settings on this 3. And then change this to long press. Now this is your holster button. So when you hold long press, you're going to holster. To make that work at a nice interval, we're going to go into the settings in it and change this long press time down to 200. That feels pretty good. It's pretty quick. If you don't like it and you find yourself accidentally holstering, just go back, switch it to 250 or so, and that should feel normal to you. Make the left bumper Q there. And then be able to pull out my Alt by pressing LB and RB. I'm going to add an extra command. And this one is going to be Z. Switch this from regular press to a button chord. And go into the settings and switch that button chord button to right bumper. Now if you press those together, you'll be able to toss your Alt. And you're going to switch right bumper over to middle mouse click. The two rectangles over to M and switch the start button over to tab. Next, we're going to go to D-pad. D-pad up is going to be 4. D-pad down is going to P. D-pad left is going to R. And add an extra command here. And this is going to be Alt. Switch this to long press. That is the Alt to long press. And then D-pad right is going to be G. Go to your D-pad down, and this is another decision to make. This P is going to be our tap strafe button that goes on a paddle. This I'm going to be switching to a turbo. This makes it very fun. This makes it very much like tap strafing with a scroll wheel. But if you find turbos to be a macro and therefore cheating, just don't use this, and it's still quite fun. I'll set this to turbo and then lower the repeat rate all the way down. Next, we're going to go to the triggers. Right trigger, you're going to go and remove command, and then right trigger soft pull. You're going to switch to left mouse click. Same with the left trigger. You're going to disable full pull. So remove that, and then left trigger soft pull, you're going to switch to right mouse click. For right trigger behavior, go into the settings, and you're going to switch to analog off instead of right trigger. You need this to be on analog off, otherwise things are going to be choppy. And then for left trigger behavior, you're going to do the same thing. Make sure this is on analog off, not left trigger. Otherwise things will be choppy. Next, you go to joysticks. This is where it gets fun. Right joystick behavior, you're going to switch over to joystick mouse. This makes your right stick your mouse now. Then switch right stick click over to V. Left joystick behavior, we're going to switch this over to directional pad. Okay, for left up, this is going to be your W. For left down, this is going to be your S. For left left, this is going to be your A. And for right, this is going to be your D. And then left stick click is going to shift. Unless you use auto sprint, then that doesn't matter. Customizations on these. So this is where you get to choose if you're playing on linear, classic, what kind of sensitivity. So go into right joystick behavior. I would recommend starting your mouse sense about 150 and seeing where you want to go from there. And then I like to have a lower pitch than I play with yaw. So left right is quicker than up and down, because the up and down looking demands aren't that intense in Apex. So I'll keep my horizontal scale at 100 and then lower my vertical scale to, I like 80. Okay, stick response, this is your response curve. So a lot of people are going to go in here, just play linear, super straightforward. The other choices, if you play classic, that is either wide or extra wide. I'm not really sure which one is closer to classic. Try them both, they both feel pretty good. If you want to play on custom curve, because you like playing some kind of other ALC response curve, go in there. 200 is linear. If you go to the left, anywhere towards 25, that is going to be a concave curve. That's going to be closer to classic. This is going to be pretty slow and ramp. And then if you go all the way to the right, this is something insane that no one should ever play with. This is a concave curve. This doesn't exist in Apex. I don't think there's any good utility for this, but it is something. I'm gonna leave this 200 because I just like linear right now. Dead zone's pretty important. These dead zones start out at pretty large by default. Go into this. You can either go to none or custom. A lot of people are gonna say none. There's a lot of stick drift at that, and I don't really like it. So go to custom. And I've felt that 2000 feels pretty good for the inner dead zone. Exit out of here. Next, for left joystick behavior, go into here. And this starts off with a pretty hefty dead zone. You don't really want that on your movement stick. You want to be able to strafe really quickly, unless you have really bad left stick drift, at which point, then you can't really hold doors or something. I like to just drop this all the way down. That doesn't feel bad. This even feels like there still is a tiny dead zone, and that's whatever. And I'm not using any other advanced settings here. Next, we're going to go into action sets, and this is where we get to choose what our settings are when the cursor is on our screen. This is how you can move while looting, because with just these settings, you can't loot very effectively. So we're going to add an action set, call this one looting, nice and organized, and then copy this from your default. It usually pops up as an empty space. It'll be empty space your default, and that'll let you copy your settings over so you're not starting from scratch. And then for your set options, you're going to make it so when your cursor is shown, you're on the looting profile, and then when your cursor is hidden, you're on the default profile. Confirm. All right, now start from scratch. Let's go to the face buttons. Now that you've made two action sets, you're going to navigate between the default and looting action sets by clicking up here in the top left. So default is done, go over looting, and then face buttons we'll start with. You're gonna switch B to escape. And then LB and RB are gonna be how you navigate through the death box. So remove the button cord, gonna go into the Z settings, remove command, reset activation, delete extra command. Now LB, we're going to switch to scroll wheel up. And then RB, we're going to switch to scroll wheel down. Now for these, to navigate through the menus, we're going to add some turbos. So go into your settings for the LB, RB. Turn on turbo, switch the repeat rate all the way down. Same for RB, settings, turbo, switch the repeat rate all the way down. D-pads stay the same, triggers stay the same, and joysticks stay the same. So this is done here. Make sure you save your layout because you will delete all of your progress. So you can go ahead and export your layout. Avoid sharing with the community, avoid clicking this too many times. I don't know how to delete layouts, so you'll end up like me, where you have a laundry list of different Steam configs. Next, I'm going to go rebind my paddles. I use an Xbox Elite Series 2 controller, so I'm going to do this over in the Xbox Accessories app, which you can download. If you have a different controller, just use your software to rebind your paddles the same way that I do here. I'm going to go into configure. And these are my pedal settings here. My left ring finger is my A, my left middle finger is down on the D-pad, my right middle finger is left on the D-pad, and my right ring finger is B. I use this to be able to tap strafe using my left middle finger. If you play claw, you're probably going to have to do a lot of work with these configs to be able to get them to work correctly, but I'm sure there's a way to do that. And if people really want that video, let me know, guys. I can make that. That's no problem. So like I said earlier in the video, you're going to need to start with the default Apex keybinds. If you switch to your keybinds, take pictures of them first and then restore to default. There are going to be a few things we change here. Leave mouse sensitivity at 5.0. Change your sensitivity and responsiveness settings over in Steam. Go into ADS mouse sensitivity, and I'm going to lower the ADS mouse sensitivity multiplier down to 0.5. If you use per optics, go ahead, hop in here, mess around with your per optics. Next, to make tap strafing work, I'm going to add a secondary activation to forward. That's going to be P. So I can cycle my weapon, I'm going to switch cycle weapon to L, and then I'm going to switch ADS toggle to ADS hold, and that'll be right mouse click. And then you're all set. Alright, gonna do a quick usage demonstration here. So for basic midair redirects, you just have to try to move midair. You can use this to get around corners as well. For more significant midair redirects, you have to use the tap strafe paddle. With this setup, that's the left middle finger. You'll get further with your tap strafes by looking in the direction you're moving. After you shoot, to reload, you press left on the D-pad. With my setup, that's the right middle finger. And to use your survival item, you just have to hold left on the D-pad. Hold, not tap. Moving while looting is very intuitive. You just have to continue moving like normal. Move your cursor with the right stick. Select an item with the right trigger. And scroll up and down with the bumpers. So you're going to do this by playing bumper jumper just while you're moving and looting. Press start to enter your inventory. Select as your map. To drop items from your inventory, you'll pull the left trigger. Or to drop a whole stack or move optics, you just have to drag and drop. To tap strafe off jump pads, you have to hold the tap strafe paddle, then jump and push your left stick in the direction you want to go. And if you come across any hiccups, let me know down in the comments and I'll let you know how to do it or a solution for your issue. So are these configs cheating? We'll start first with just the black and white definitions of cheating. Does Respawn consider this cheating? No, you're not going to get banned for doing this. But a few communities of people would consider this cheating. First are people who think controller players should just never get the ability to tap strafe. Cut and dry. Some people just think that controller players should never get access to advanced movement. I don't know what to tell you. Next you have the people that say controller gets aim assist, M&K gets movement. My method here disables aim assist anyway, but I disagree with the premise in the first place. Why do controller players get aim assist? 2 points. First, analog sticks are way more difficult to aim with than a mouse. Without aim assist, the motor skill demands are an order of magnitude more difficult. And 2, it takes more time to change the direction you're tracking in on an analog stick because you have to cross the midline. So if you took 2 players of similar skill, one on controller without aim assist, and the other on M&K, the M&K would track more accurately and react more quickly to changes in direction. This is why controller players get aim assist. It's to balance the aim between the 2 inputs. If you think aim assist is too strong, which I do, then they should just weaken aim assist and give everyone the same access to movement. Now, if you think aim assist is bad for competitive integrity, I have all the time in the world for that conversation, but this video doesn't, so maybe another time. The next reason you might think that this is cheating is because you think macros are cheating. The tap strafe paddle I went over spams turbo W when you press the paddle. And that's a macro. It's a basic macro. It's not like one button creating a whole box in Fortnite, for example, but it is a macro. I did this to emulate the scroll wheel. Any turbo input is technically a macro, and if that's your definition of cheating, then fine. But in reality, a turbo W button is not significantly easier to use than the scroll wheel. We're talking about flicking a wheel with your finger versus pressing a button with your finger. And the maximum number of W inputs you'll register in the lurch window is virtually the same between both. So I personally don't think that's a very good argument. The other way to think about cheating is to compare the 2 inputs and to see if anyone is getting a competitive advantage. We'll start by comparing the movement between the 2. These configs are not automating any of your movement. This isn't some neostrafe macro that does the movement for you. The movements you can pull off on controller using these configs are nearly equally, if not exactly equally, as difficult on controller as they are on M&K. In my opinion, it's just as cool and difficult to pull off a neostrafe with these configs as it would be to do it on M&K. Both inputs have to practice in order to pull off advanced movement tech. Now if we look at aim, M&K takes the lead by a massive margin here. This should be self-explanatory. If you don't believe me, go in game and turn off aim assist on controller. Shoot around, see how it goes. This alone is a strong argument that this isn't cheating, and controller without aim assist is terrible. I think I hit all the big points here. If you have anything else to add or you vehemently disagree with my takes, get at me in the comments. So now that I've explained how this all works and I've discussed cheating, I have a few humble asks. So I set out to find a way for controller players to do M&K movement that isn't cheating. Please don't take this and add cheating mechanics to it. Don't find a way to add aim assist to this. If this mechanic ever got added to the main game, it would probably come with an aim assist nerf. So if you're trying to get your normal 0.4 aim assist, you might be cheating. Don't toggle these settings on and off in-game to get aim assist in between the movement. There are ways to do it, and I don't know that it's necessarily wrong, but I suppose we'll come across that road when we get there. This is what I'm passionate about. Don't add the old cheesy movement macros to this. The idea of this is to give yourself the ability to learn movement mechanics. If you automate a neostrafe at the click of a button, you just like cheating in video games, and that's not cool. Next, and this is a weird one, don't lie to people and tell them that you're on M&K. That's just weird. This method is cool anyway, just be proud that you're doing it. I'm sure this solution opens Pandora's box for all kinds of BS, but be good people, don't cheat at video games, and in the meantime, let's hope controller movement gets some kind of real update in-game so that way you don't have to do all of this. Alright guys, that's the video. Like and sub for more content like this in the future. Comment your questions or concerns. Concerns are more likely. Don't cheat at video games, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!